Now, in my last video, we discussed how Bryan's defense team argued that law enforcement violated his constitutional rights by analyzing DNA found at the crime scene without obtaining proper search warrants. They also challenged the use of genealogical databases to identify potential relatives. Bryan's defense attempted to have all DNA evidence, cell phone records, email records, surveillance footage, and even his Amazon purchases thrown out. Most notably, they wanted to exclude the physical DNA evidence found on the knife sheath. However, at the end of February, Judge Hippler, the new judge on the case, completely denied the defense's motion. Many were anxiously awaiting this decision, and while some who believe Bryan is innocent were disappointed, the ruling means that all this evidence remains admissible in trial. To clarify the importance of this ruling, the DNA found on the knife sheath was traced back to Bryan through a genealogy website, similar to 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Bryan's defense argued that law enforcement violated privacy agreements on these sites, which state that users' DNA will not be shared with outside parties. Essentially, they claimed the FBI unlawfully accessed the database to connect Bryan to the crime. However, they never disputed that the DNA on the sheath belonged to Bryan, only how it was obtained. Had the defense successfully excluded this evidence, much of the case against Bryan, including the FBI surveillance, cell phone data, and even his trash DNA collection, could have been dismissed. Given the significance of this evidence, losing this motion was a major setback for the defense. Following this ruling, Judge Hippler issued another directive, criticizing the excessive use of sealed documents and gag orders in this case. He stated that sealing everything goes against the public's First Amendment right to access court proceedings. Instead, he encouraged lawyers to use less restrictive measures, such as redacting specific information or using initials instead of full names. Now, let's discuss the new motions that have been filed. Death penalty motion. About a year ago, Bryan's defense team tried to have the death penalty removed from consideration, but their request was denied. They have now filed another motion, this time arguing that Bryan is on the autism spectrum and, because of this, he faces an unfair risk of being convicted based on his demeanor rather than actual evidence. The motion claims that Bryan has difficulty interpreting social cues, rocks back and forth while listening, and has limited or inappropriate facial expressions. His legal team is concerned that a jury may perceive these behaviors as odd, unhinged, or even disrespectful, which could unfairly influence their judgment. This strategy raises questions. Does the defense believe they can use this motion to later negotiate a plea deal? If they successfully remove the death penalty, they may attempt to strike a deal for life in prison to avoid trial altogether. Motion to ban certain words. Another motion filed by the defense aims to prevent the use of words such as murder, psychopath, sociopath, and even bushy eyebrows during the trial. The bushy eyebrows request stems from the surviving roommate, identified as DM, who described the intruder as having distinct eyebrows. The defense argues that using this description while Bryan is sitting in court could be as prejudicial as directly identifying him as the suspect. DM originally told investigators that she saw a man with bushy eyebrows dressed in black walking past her bedroom toward the back door. The defense claims her statement is unreliable, partially because her room decor featured artwork of eyes with prominent eyebrows, implying she may have imagined this detail. They also point out that DM has spoken about experiencing lucid dreams and initially described the intruder as resembling a firefighter. Additionally, the defense questioned whether DM had been under the influence that night, as the house was known for hosting parties. They argue that any impairment could have affected her perception and memory. New DNA evidence. Court documents recently unsealed reveal that DNA testing on Madison's left fingernail clippings found traces from 3 unidentified individuals. The defense emphasized that when this DNA was compared to Bryan's, the results were inconclusive. They argue that presenting this evidence in trial could mislead the jury into believing it connects Bryan to the crime when it actually does not. With so many legal battles unfolding, the upcoming trial is shaping up to be intense. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think these defense strategies will hold up in court?